Okay, so now we have the two contestants who are running for the Upcountry Council seat, Yuki Lei and Hannibal Starbuck. Thank you both for attending this evening.
Thank you for having us.
And you being the first number one for question. My question to you is, outdated community plans do not reflect current realities and best practices. How would you ensure the community plans are effectively updated and relevant?
How do we effectively ensure that the community plans are updated and relevant? I'll tell you the most important thing that I see. We're right now going through the Molokai Community Plan, and I think that it was 6 months with the community, and then it went and was approved by the Planning Commission, and then it came to us, and we've had it too long. So I think that the council, what we've done is page by page, truly, we've made changes in the community plans, and I think there might be a better way of doing it as a council for us to take that responsibility and take what's in the plan and which came from the voices of the community and make that process shorter, and that will truly help make the process faster and better and more accurate and more timely is a problem. And it's such an important document. I will tell you that everybody who participates in it with the community, you leave your impressions with it from the greater community to the Planning Commission, and when it comes to us, it is our role then to look at it. Oh, it's red light.
Red light.
Sorry, too fast.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask the same question to Mr. Starbuck. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Outdated community plans do not reflect current realities and best practices. How would you ensure that the community plans are effectively updated and relevant?
I definitely agree that the community plans are outdated. Some of them are made before Costco, before Kekalike High School, right, before Kamehameha. So it's a tricky question. I think that maybe working on more than one at one time, and making sure that we hear the community properly so that when the plans are being vetted, that there's no large disagreement anymore, so that the community will continue to support it all the way through and not at some point decide they no longer like it. Okay, so that, as well as I think we're moving our zoning to digital and having all that be public, available to the public, so that people can have the knowledge beforehand and make informed decisions knowing all these things. I think all these things can help us with that. Thank you.
Gosh, you guys are right on it. Thank you for helping us with this process. Okay, Hannibal. What do you feel is the biggest obstacle to creating affordable housing and rentals?
To my knowledge, the biggest obstacle for affordable housing and rentals is the infrastructure for the development. I think that I like the idea that we proactively plan infrastructure and let the affordable housing come there instead of vice versa. I also think we should be making plans to get bids and quotes for building on our county parcels that have been identified, right? And seeing if they fit into the community plans and all that, and if the infrastructure around there can handle them, and if it's feasible. So I think that's what I think is the biggest thing, infrastructure.
Thank you. Yuki Lei, what do you feel is the biggest obstacle to creating affordable housing and rentals?
So right now we have about 11,000 homes in general within the county of Maui in different phases, of which maybe only 4% are for affordable. And this information comes from the Department of Housing and Human Concerns. The big question on this is there are so few actually being built, although we have a lot in many different phases. But I believe that one of the obstacles that developers have to go through is finding water. That is something that is a responsibility, finding water, and then of course being able to have the project approved through council. So once a project comes, is ready, it goes through the process. I think Alice mentioned, and I did hear from Will Spence that there is, who's in charge of Housing and Human Concerns, there's a process. So when a plan is ready to be built, it gets vetted through all the departments, and it's expedited through a process that then goes on the top of the stack. And I think this system is critical to keep this flowing and to be sure that it's red light. I want to talk about the MAPS program. I hope you ask me that. I got to pull an Alice.
No more questions, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, Yuki. Thank you for coming.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Tom.
Thank you very much. Yuki, why should we continue to create new laws and penalties when we don't enforce our existing laws? What will you do to address unpermitted B&Bs and TVRs?
Good question. What would we do to combat the illegal short-term vacation rental bed and breakfast? So a couple things is, from being at the council, I'm always amazed at how much time the council spends on illegal short-term vacation rentals. Considering how many other big problems there are and that we need to address. But one of the things that the council did was the council asked the planning department, how much have we collected on illegal short-term vacation rentals and bed and breakfast? The amount is so minuscule and small. And so you wonder, is it effective, right? Our enforcement is a huge problem. But what the council just did is, and you're going to see on your ballots, and we're going to wait to hear how you vote, but there's a charter amendment on your ballot which basically asks for illegal short-term vacation rentals, there will be a $20,000 charge for illegal short-term vacation rentals, if you wish, or $10,000 a day. Currently, the charter only allows penalties of $1,000. So if this problem is really huge, let's address it and let's use that money to hire enforcement people. Thank you.
Will you please repeat the question?
I'd be happy to repeat the question. Why should we continue to create new laws and penalties when we don't enforce our existing laws? What will you do to address unpermitted B&Bs and TVRs?
Why do we lock our cars? It's not to keep, we lock our cars to keep the honest people honest, right? Because people can break into our cars, people can break into our house, right? But we want to keep the honest people honest. So I fully support raising the fine, right? And one thing I can do is I can vote yes on that, and I plan to. But you know, we want to keep the honest people honest, because some people, if they know that, you know, it's not what the community needs and there are these fines, they're just not going to do it. But we also need to have the enforcement as well and start, you know, making it known publicly that these are being enforced, and that'll be another layer that'll help people to make the decision on their own to stay honest and not do what they know that they're not supposed to do, because it's a major problem. We need our rentals to go to local families and not to short-term vacation rentals.
Okay, my question. What is your position on alternate energy sources for Maui?
I think we need to look at more options than we know right now, right? Right now we're getting our electricity majority from our Molokai plant, which runs diesel fuel. I think looking at biodiesel is an option. And you might wonder, well, it's still putting CO2 into the atmosphere, right? But you might want to ask Kelly. I think it's CO2 negative, because as you're growing the plants, it actually sucks out the CO2, the carbon. Anyway, the carbon dioxide. But there's other solar besides photovoltaic as well. There's solar that uses mirrors to focus energy on oil, heat it up, and use the oil to boil water and run turbines. So there's more alternative energy than we currently have with our wind and our photovoltaic. And there are waves and there's currents That makes me cautious to think that we're going to put something like this out at JAWS, so I'm not all for that one yet. But I think looking at more options than we currently know, because all around the world people are investing in this and looking into this. So the answer is there.
What is your position on alternate energy sources for Maui?
My position is that not only do we, because I'm like Alice, my house, it has solar and I have, all the things that we need. I drive a Prius and I do all the things to add to being energy efficient. But I think what we have to do as a community is learn how to store energy. So it's one thing to build and to create energy and have other sources, but there must be a way that you can store it for future use. So we're not only, as you know, for the wind energy, there's a time that it's more productive when there's more wind, and then it slows down another time. But at the time that it is very productive, we have to way of figuring out a way of storing energy, and I think that's really where we need to be in terms of how to take steps in the future for forward thinking. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. If you please pick a number. Don't say 3. 2.
Okay. So we're going to have Zandra go first. Okay.
Thank you, Kelly.
Aloha, ladies. Thank you so much for being here this evening and for rescheduling with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you. Okay, so Zandra, we're going to start with you, and then Kelly will ask you the same question after. Zandra, what is your strategy for long-term solutions for dealing with rising sea levels impacting Maui?
I think dealing with sea rise is a real problem. There's been many studies, in fact, one just came out, that the ocean is receding profusely. And as we know, many people in Napili and on the ocean front have condominiums out there. I am not really for seawalls. Being a native to this island, the ocean is very important to me as it is to all of you, because without that resource, we have no economy, we have no environment, we really don't have our lifestyle. So I would strongly suggest putting buildings further back, moving our water facility back, away from the ocean. The seawalls into the ocean is something that really could create a problem for our environment. So I think the best thing is to follow the study that just came out, and they came out with some excellent, excellent ideas. Thank you. Oh, sorry, that was right.
And Kelly, would you like me to?
No, I think sea level rise is an obvious problem. I was able to, through my committee and through the full council, get a resolution passed that we are adopting the recommendations in the sea level rise adaptation report that the state put out recently. It's very important, I think, to focus on managed retreat. And so we need to start educating the public on what that means, educating homeowners, educating businesses, anybody who lives near the ocean. We need to stop building near the ocean. And all that information is going to come out in this sea level rise report. But it's got to be a community-wide effort to outreach and do education. And then, we need to do our part with renewable energy, but there's no way we're going to stop it right now. It's gone too far. And the other thing we need to know is once this sea level report recommendations starts to get inured into county ordinance, we really need to bring in the experts. And I have contacts at the federal level that are, have Pentagon security clearance that are telling me that what we're really looking at is not 3.2 feet, it's 6 to 15 feet. So we need the real information, and we need it now.
Thank you very much, and thank you for doing the exercise program with us, up and down and up and down.
That's all the exercise I get, Tom.
Thank you very much for coming and for being with us, and thank you for running. When we speak of preserving Hawaiian culture, what does that mean to you? And if elected, re-elected, what would you do to practice this value?
Well, thanks for the question, Tom. I think it's been really important to see an increased number of folks who represent the Ahamoku, who are in the Ahamoku, and who are advising our DLNR, coming out and testifying at the council. Local folks need to vote. We need to instill this institutional knowledge and information and opinion into our entities. And that's why one of the first things I did when I got on the council through the planning department is I was able to pass through an ordinance that requires a Native Hawaiian cultural expert on every planning commission and the Hana community, the advisory committee. I think it's really important that we actually have advisory committees for all of our communities that can advise the Planning Commission on our island, and they should all have that Hawaiian cultural expertise on those committees. We need to spend more time also paying attention to our countywide policy plan and making decisions based on that, because that is one of our goals and our principles in that countywide policy plan is awareness and cultural respect.
Zandra, thank you for coming. Thank you for running.
You're welcome.
I have a similar question. Would you like the question repeated?
Certainly.
When we speak of preserving Hawaiian culture, what does that mean to you? And if elected, what would you do to practice this value?
Practicing the aloha culture simply means one word, and that is aloha. And aloha means to be able to be humble, be able to collaborate, be able to agree to disagree, especially if you're sitting on a council seat, a mayoral seat, a Senate seat, or any legislative seat. That is the basis of what I grew up with here in Hawaii, in the territory of Hawaii. I think it is imperative that if we start with aloha, the love and compassion for each other as human beings, all will be cared for. Not only the lands, not only the coral, not only the reefs, not only the kunihikis, or all of the above. And our mo'opunas will see what a great place they live in. And they will be given the option, with joy, love, and aloha, to say, hey, I want to be a part of this gang. I know with my mother, my grandparents, my great-grandparents here in Hawaii, they made me proud to stand up and say, hey, pokiki apau. But it comes from giving love and aloha, because nothing gets done. Oh, but thank you. Sorry, Kelly. Oh, I got to step again. Okay, Kelly, we got it. We got this, right?
Okay. Zandra, my question.
Yes,
how
sir.
familiar are you with the Show Me the Water bill, and why do you feel it is still relevant or not?
Okay. I remember sitting in the council and giving testimony to this. And I believe it was around Joanne Johnson and Miss Anderson. Show Me the Water bill. I am one who come from a farm. Water was imperative to us. I am one who is related to 3/4 of Makua, Kula, Pukalani, and Upcountry, Hana, and Kaupo. Water is important to them. I think water is important to everyone. Show Me the Water bill is a responsibility that the developers today do already. When they come before the council, that's one of the requisitions they need to have in place. They need to show on their development plans that they have the water that is necessary to make the development work. So I think water is the essence of who we are, simply because your body alone is made up of 99% water. Is it important? Yes. Do I believe we should have rules and regulations in place? Yes. Thank you.
Kelly, same question.
Okay, yeah, the Show Me the Water bill has to do with development. So we're looking at needing the required amount of water before you can go ahead with the development. And I really feel that the whole idea of water on our islands needs to be looked at. We really need an audit of what's happening, especially with the water being returned to the streams, which was, great. Hallelujah. But aside from that is what we all know, that there's a hold up Upcountry. We've got this whole list, and we don't really know why. We know there's not enough water, but there's a big push to get all of those names off the list. But we also have to look at the development, the infrastructure that's required to take those names off the list and to do that building. So, I think it's time to look at it again. I say this as somebody who had great admiration for Michelle Anderson when she pushed this bill through and was able to get it done. I think it really served a great purpose. But like all, we're in a situation with a housing crunch now. And so I think we need to prioritize what type of development we want and what type of development can compromise certain parts of that. But we can't lose the water that we already have designated to what we already have built. So to me, it's a question that needs to be looked at again. And I wasn't on the council when it was passed, so I can't speak to the reasons, but I would like to be on the council when we look at it again.
We still have time.
You guys are running amazingly ahead of time because I was supposed to start at 8:05. So.
Yeah, we are running way out of time. Although I think we're starting to get caught up again with the red light.
Okay.
We're doing good. It's okay. We're going to take our time and get it right. Kelly, this is on the issue of the triple bottom line. Do you support the triple bottom line view of sustainability, the balance of economy, environment, and social well-being? Why or why not?
I absolutely do, and I actually built a business based on the triple bottom line, although we were calling it a quadruple bottom line because we were also looking at energy security, which is a huge piece of this equation. And we've had a chance to prove that out as a company, Pacific Biodiesel, was able to keep, because we're so close and we're making fuel here in the islands, we actually saved a couple of years ago Oahu from having a four-week blackout time where they were going to do rolling blackouts. So I think the green economy is really important, and I think one of the reasons why the green economy didn't quite work out for President Obama, and I participated in some high-level national conversations about this, is because they put a lot of money out there, but they didn't give it to the right people. You need to give it to small business, you need to give it to local business, and we run so mean and lean in local business that if you give us a grant to do something, we have to hire people to do that. You give it to Monsanto or General Electric, they're just going to move people around, and that's why it didn't create that level of jobs. But definitely the green economy needs a higher visibility. We need to start talking about it more. There seemed like a burst of sustainability, and then we forgot to talk about it. It fell out of the conversation.
And Sandra, do you support the triple bottom line view of sustainability, the balance of economy, environment, and social well-being? Why or why not?
Yes, I do. The why is I go back to my upbringing. And my family in Hana, my family in Molokai, my family in Lanai and Kaupo, where many of them do exactly that. If we look at one of our legislators, Stacy, her family does that. Lynn does that. I think it's important because we need the environment for the economy. We need the economy for our lifestyle. And so how we're going to maintain that is by balancing all the three so that we can one day become sustainable again, working together, building a community where you do not have to worry when the tsunami comes or the hurricanes come. Where are you going to get your food from? I know as a child I didn't have to worry. I grew up in a ranch. We always had food. Whether there was a hurricane or a tsunami, we had our food. Thank you.
Sandra, this is a question for you. What changes would you make to overcome apathy and distrust, to engage more community members to participate in county processes and testimony?
The first thing I would do, and this comes from my heart, I would remove private individuals for putting cameras in your face while you are testifying. And I say this because just 2 months ago, I convinced 3 old ladies to come and testify. These other ladies came up with cameras in their face asking them questions. In tears, I walked them down to the lobby to their cars. That broke my heart. That is the first thing I would do. People are entitled. And for those of us that was raised here, how long did it take us to feel like we had the courage to go before the council? How long? I know my generation's brothers and sisters, we didn't feel like we had that right for being fear or retaliated against. I think that and many other things, but that is the foremost and most thing, because that breaks my heart when my own people who were born and raised here, whose ancestors go back 100 years, are intimidated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Kelly?
Repeat the question.
Excuse me?
Can you repeat the question?
No way.
It's kind of a long one. So.
All right, but 3 minutes only. Kelly, again, thank you for being here.
Sure.
What changes would you make to overcome apathy and distrust, to engage more community members to participate in county processes and testimony?
Well, I think I've gone a long way in doing that because I have brought a lot of people into the fold and more comfortable testifying. One of the first things that I would do, and I've tried to do this in the last budget, but I got voted down, is turn the council around so that we're actually facing the people that we serve. We're the only council that sits with our backs to the people that we're supposed to be serving. So, if you look at I have a poster in my office that says the function of society has to do with the arrangement of the furniture. So that's the first thing I would do. But I think also because I've created a lot of collaborations and community meetings, and if I can't hold an official council meeting or a committee meeting in my community, I can certainly hold committee meetings and bring people together, which we have done and created a working group for homelessness in South Maui. We don't have a lot of resources there. Trying to bring people out and talking to them and getting them in small groups is important and large groups is important so that we're all hearing the same thing. I've never turned anybody down for a meeting with me in my office. Unless there was, the multiple meetings where we weren't getting anywhere, then I try to go out into the community and meet with them in group. But I have been meeting with my community association every quarter. In my company, the Farm Service Agency person in our state called us the most collaborative company in the state of Hawaii.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes this race for the Kihei South Maui seat.
Oh, can I have the mic? No. Drop the mic.
And then we're going to have you stand in this. Okay. If you don't mind, just for the camera.
Yeah. So this is for the Molokai Council seat, Stacy Carvalho. Carvalho. Okay. You can see how I did not fall into this position easily. Kiani Rollins Fernandez did not get back to us, but did get back to us, but was unable to attend. Okay, so thank you for coming all the way from Molokai.
Thank you for affording me this opportunity. Thank you.
So my question for you, Stacy, is what is your strategy for long-term solutions for rising sea levels impacting Maui?
Okay, we can't fight nature, but we can allow policies to disallow any kind of development close to shore. the setback should be way beyond. And how we mitigate that with our changing tides and what have you is beyond us. So I would reflect back on Ahupua system. So if you cannot do whatever you need to do, then you move elsewhere, where that sort of interference or the natural cause is not going to interfere with your lifestyle. And I think just for the fact that we've allowed development close to the shoreline and what have you has to be changed. We have to do a shifting on that. And just look at the erosion of our beaches. You know, it interferes also with just our marine life too. See the red light.
Thank you for being on it and watching. Okay, we're going to do a shift just to make sure we're circling these a little bit. Okay. What changes would you make to overcome apathy and distrust to engage more community members to participate in county processes and give testimony?
Okay, so we have different type of processes, right? We have participation boards and commissions. And sometimes I think, you know, they just volunteer ourselves, and when they come before council, we put them through the ringer. So I think we can be more appreciative for people who steps up to volunteer their time. As far as testimonies, I know I come from an island that no hold back. It's what you value. I think we need to allow better communication on some of the issues that are going on. And when they delve into the issues and how it affects their lifestyle or their economics, then people will take an interest into what it is that I need to get out there to testify. And we have different cultures that may be quite easy to step up to the plate and the podium, but there are many that finds that difficult, and sometimes it becomes challenging too. Thank you.
Stacy, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
For your service on the council. Why should we continue to create new laws and penalties when we don't enforce our existing laws? What will you do to address unpermitted B&Bs and TBRs?
I think I would respond to the fact that this council, with some of the suggestions that have come from some of my colleagues, that we've taken steps to see how we can duly enforce the problem we have with illegal STRs or B&Bs. The challenge also too, when we actually put a cap on it, you're going to have more illegals. I believe that what we should do and what the council has done is we've okayed monies into the enforcement part to be able to contract, first of all, to come up with a system that identifies illegals, and then I guess we send a posse out to them, if that works. And in the past, nothing has happened. You know, they keep saying they didn't have the manpower, didn't have the finances. So it did pass through under the, I would have to say, with Ellie pushing that. So, and we came around and supported it.
Thank you. What is your position on alternate energy sources for Maui?
We all know that for the environment, that's where we want to go. We want renewable energy. But we also have to pay attention on the cost. And actually, it's costly because for now, it's a matter of what type of renewable energy you'd like to have. That would benefit. You have solar, you have wind, you have bio, and what have you. And so for on Molokai, we are just in some purchasing agreement with Miko, and what we will see is a solar farm that would be developed on the island. But we will naturally be watching what is the cost to us versus what Miko is going to put out to us. Because it's not going to bring the prices down. I mean, look at some of the renewable energies. You look at the cost. It's no different than the fuel that we pay. But the objective is we want clean air. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Aloha, Stacy. What are your plans to help solve Maui's recycling problems?
We don't have a recycling process that really works. I think our administration and the new administration, along with council, we should be willing to develop recycling as a whole. If you go to the other states, Oregon, for instance, we had a site visit, and it is just amazing what they do to recycle. What you hear now that it's not profitable for the manufacturers or whoever ships out the recyclables, but we have to turn that around. And do we have to ship it out? I think we've got to invest in developing the kind of recyclable development or facility that we need. When I look at a small community, it's so different what you're going to see in a bigger community. So in a smaller community, we don't have the facilities. And so what you have are pileups. And that's the same thing that's happening here.
You'll notice the questioners don't have a red light. Stacey, thank you very much. And of course, your service on the Council of Housing Issues over the many years, I think leads us to this question for you. How can the Council best move affordable housing and rental projects forward? And how does the Council positively and negatively impact affordable developments?
Okay, so your first question is, how do we get to having affordable houses and rentals?
How can the council best move affordable housing and rental projects forward?
Well, I think we've made some movement. If a developer, we've just passed this through during this council. We passed allowance of 100% rental development. The penciling out will not make it. So what we've offered is rental tax credits. And so that's a subsidy in itself that we're allowing. But we will be having one development or two, as a matter of fact, for 100% rental based on getting the rental credits, and that's going to happen here in Kahului. As far as affordable housing, now that becomes a challenge. We have to look at what it costs for us to build. When you talk to any builder or developer, I think one lot, average lot, will cost over close to $100,000. Am I right on that? Oh, he says almost 3 times the builder here. Now that's just the infrastructure to build a house. Yeah.
Well, we did get to 6 questions though because of time. So thank you so much.
Thank you.